Welcome back to another episode of the Biblical Conservative Channel. I'm really excited tonight because tonight I have with me a dynamic pro-life speaker, a worship leader, someone who has been strong when it comes to advocating for life. You know, it's one of the things that we believe here at the Biblical Conservative Channel is one of the 5 pillars that God is about life. God gave us life, and we're very, very thankful, very, very excited to have Brother Stephen Holland on to talk about his story, and you will be riveted when you hear about his story and about how God has used his story to impact many around this nation. Brother Holland, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, Sean. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Now, so before we get started, could you briefly talk about your background and how you became such a pro-life advocate?
Yeah, definitely. Would you like me to start at the beginning with the
Yeah,
story, or
yeah. Start
okay,
again with
awesome.
your story.
All right, great. Well, I was an 8-year-old kid, Sean. Came home to my parents. I told my mom, I was like, man, they said I'm the wrong color, and I was like 8-year-old little boy, and I'm like, man, they ain't lying. I'm brown, and my family was very Caucasian. So, needless to say, that started a conversation that night with my mom, and I found out that I was actually a foster child brought into their home as a 7-day old child. I was on the same bottle I left the hospital with. I was so weak that I actually couldn't even suck a bottle. And man, I always tell people, Sean, when I get to speak, that I think love goes deeper than color, blood, or DNA. This family,
Right.
they that didn't matter to them. They just saw a child that needed to be loved and cared for, and they literally squeezed milk in my mouth to save my life, man. I've been with them for 43 years. It's been a wild ride, but again, that 8-year little boy, I found out I was a foster kid. They adopted me at age 2, but that started a journey for me of why do I have to be weird and different? Why does my skin color have to be different? Many of you all looking at my name like, what kind of weird name is that? I had siblings, Ricky, Rod, Renee, Robin, and there's Stevenson. Like why is my name so weird? And I
Yeah.
just didn't know. I didn't know my story. My parents didn't know. They just, I literally was dropped off at Human Services with very little information. I had 8 pages of typewriter paperwork that my family held on to, and they gave it to me actually that night. It was my birth certificate. I knew I was born on March 31st, 1982. I knew that my birth mom's name was Glenda Sue Holt, and then it was just broken family information after that. And so, long story short, I tell people I would carry that why question for a long time. I'm like, Lord, why do I have to be different? Why is my skin color different? Why, all these whys. But the biggest why was I not good enough to keep?
Right.
It would manifest itself right throughout my life in different ways. So for me, Sean, like, you're not going to call me weird and different anymore when I'm 200 none of your business pounds, starting in 7th grade. And so I was a fullback, middle linebacker. I'm going to hit harder, run faster. I don't want to be weird and different. I want to stand out. I'm just not going to take up for, deal with
Right.
that. So I'm going to run over you,
Yeah.
So I was that kid. But I actually got hurt in 1998. Had back surgery, so I ended my football playing career, which devastated me. 17-year-old kid had to have surgery with the summer before his senior year. Here I am asking God why again, and but I'm thankful that I had a drug problem growing up. I was drug in and drug out of every church service known to man. I don't know if you
True.
can relate.
I can
I
relate to
don't know if
that.
you
I
can
can.
relate.
I can, bro. Yes,
So
I can.
I'm thankful for that drug problem because man, it always in my deepest need, in my deepest struggle, I always need to run to Jesus. And
Hmm.
actually that 8-year-old little boy back in the day, that's when I came to know Jesus, kind of wrestling with that why question, that pain, and I was like, Lord, I need you, Jesus. And so I came running to him again, that 17-year-old young man. Got up out of bed, got in the best shape of my life, and walked onto a college campus in Bristol, Tennessee, where I played baseball and majored in youth ministry.
Okay.
Met my wife there. She was a volleyball player. I married up, not only in stature, but
Yeah.
just an amazing woman of God. And we, so I was youth pastoring in Tampa, Florida. Um, my wife and I had actually experienced 2 miscarriages. We lost an 8-week-old, our first pregnancy, and we lost a 10-week-old, our third pregnancy. And man, as a father, especially,
Yeah.
I'm a girl dad. I have 3 daughters.
Okay.
It devastated me, man. It broke me. The first one hurt, but the second one, I was in the room when we had an ultrasound, and a heartbeat never came, and just my dad heart was shattered. But I was also a pastor, middle school pastor, so here I am wrestling with. I'm depressed. I'm struggling to trust God. To be honest, like, God, why is this happening? I don't understand this. But in that season, man, of pain and brokenness, God just met me in a 975 square foot apartment. And what I heard was, it's time. And I thought back to that 8-year little boy, that paperwork I had. And I got on Google and I started searching. And 3 days later, I found my birth uncle. His name's Steve Holt. He's a magician and ventriloquist from Spartanburg, South Carolina. And man, I know you don't know me, but I don't like clowns.
Yeah.
I don't like Chucky. I don't like it. I don't like any of that mess.
I don't either.
So I was like, and this guy's a magician. He's like sawing people in half. I mean, he's talking with these puppets. This freaks me out. I don't want to be on this man's site, but I'm looking on his bio. I just, something inside of me said, keep looking. I looked on his bio, and every name I had on my paperwork from 1982 matched his family history. Wow. So long story short, 2 months later, I fly from Tampa, Florida to Spartanburg, South Carolina. I meet this man that's my uncle. I'm 27 years old, and he tells me how I came to be. And what I found out in about 2 days I spent with him, there were 6 kids. He was one of 6. His parents died at an early age. They were all thrown into an orphanage, and but none of them ever got out. They weren't adopted, or a few went in and out of foster care, but really they were unwanted. My mom only functioned as an 11-year-old. That's what she tapped out at as far as mental capacity. Mm-hmm. At 18 years old, she went into in the state of Georgia, became a ward of the state, and in a mental hospital, she was actually raped one night by 5 men and got pregnant with me. You can imagine, this is a state-ran facility. There's no resources, no income, no family. They were pressuring her to abort her baby every day. But man, I look at, honestly, just thank God. I'm a miracle, man. Just to be honest, I don't take it lightly. I'm not going to waste this life. But she carried me homeless, chose life for me, even despite all those adult voices that thought they knew better. This 11-year-old mental-minded woman said her baby was worth it. Wow. And so, long story short, Sean, she carried me homeless, man. 9 months pregnant, living in a cardboard box behind an old grocery store in this little town called Whitwell. It's right outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay.
And guess who lived there? The Holland family. The Holland family. This family that had Ricky, Rod, Renee, Robin, my foster family, my adopted family. Yeah. They were longing for one more baby because they had lost a 22-week-old little boy 2 years prior to miscarriage themselves. Wow. So they were foster parenting. They had five kids in their home, plus the 4 biological. They had 9 kids, and they still said yes to me. Wow. And but I don't think I could have been placed into a better home. I mean, they'd already lost that one, and they weren't going to allow another one to die. So that's why they said yes, and they squeezed milk in my mouth and nursed me back to health. But and that's enough right there, Sean. But my uncle looks at me, man, on day 2, and he says, "Hey, your mom's alive. She's 5 hours south of where we stand." Wow. And he asked me, "Do you want to meet her?" And what the Holy Spirit had spoken to me 2 months prior that even started all this was, it's time. It's time. That's what I felt in my spirit. So, man, the next day we drove 5 hours south down to Jeffersonville, Georgia, this little tiny town, and I got to meet my hero, Mama Glenda. And there's a video of it we have on YouTube, but it's all I can say is just it was a God thing. I mean, I didn't even realize I needed to hear. Like, there's a point in that when we meet and it's captured on film. She says, "I love you, and I never would have given you up if I could have kept you." Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I was
want to show y'all how good God is. Glenda, you stay right here. Come here. I wasn't going to do it this way, but we are.
All right.
Glenda Sue, you know I love you.
I love you.
You have been through a whole lot.
Her and a half goodbye.
And you've been the best girl you could be for 46
I think he's out.
years.
Yes, sir.
And you had a little boy when you were about 18. And you missed that little boy.
Yes, sir.
His name was Stevenson William, but he has a different last name. The family that you gave him to take care of him, their last name was Holland. So his name is Stevenson William Holland. And this is him.
I love you, my son. I missed you so bad.
This is your boy.
You said you could talk, son. I love you.
He's a good boy. Let me
I'm your real mama.
you are his real mama.
And I love you with all my heart, son. I want you to know that.
And
I would have gave you up if I couldn't keep you.
you've been the best mama you could be to me.
And to be honest, I thought I was good. You know, I'm pastor, minister, you know, husband, dad. I mean, I love Jesus. I'm good. He's got me. But when she said that, man, I lost it. Like, it was closure I didn't know I needed, just to know that I was wanted. All those years of thinking that, you know, I wasn't wanted, she wanted me so much. You know, she literally carried me homeless, you know, with an 11-year-old mental capacity. I mean, it doesn't get much more wanted and loved than that.
Right, man.
So,
wow,
that's
man.
the short version.
I know. That's a short version, but it's long on the impact that one decision can make on the
Absolutely.
lives. Just think about the decision that your mom made and how that has impacted your life, your wife, your children, and countless others. So
Generational.
yeah, generational. It's generational. The Bible talks about that. You know, the decisions that we make. You know, life and death's in the power of the tongue, and you know, the decision that you make affects not just yourself, but your children's generation, children's generation. Just think about that. How God was in that situation, even in a dark situation like that. He gave your mother the fortitude to say, "No, I'm gonna keep my baby," and you know. And it's so true because one of the things I've been a part of, and we're going to really dig deep into the story for sure because it's impactful, but also what you're doing right now. But I was able to participate, and there's this organization that does prayer walks outside of abortion facilities here in Charlotte. And when you participate in that, you see how if you are able to influence at least one young lady to choose life, the positive impact it has not just on her, but possibly on the community and possibly on generations to come.
Right.
And so take me back to that 8-year-old boy, your 8-year-old self, when people were saying, "Hey, Stephen, there's something's different about you, man. You're weird. Something's different about you. You don't look like the rest of your family." What were some of the challenges that you faced mentally growing up in that environment?
Yeah, man. It's just crazy. You know, my family will tell you, like, they never hid it from me, right? It was just, you know, they weren't ashamed of my skin color or anything like that. It was just that, you know, man, I was their son from day one.
Right.
I wrote a book in 2015, and there's a picture on page. I got a lot of pictures in my book. I don't know if you like those kind of books, but that's my kind of book. So there's a picture on page 36 of my dad. You know, he worked in the coal mines, and I tell people I thought he was black most of my life growing up, you know, but he would come in and bathe, man. He would hold his little boy on his chest, and that's, you know, from day one, like I was just their kid, you know, their son. And so for me, it was a little bit of a shock. Like, What do you mean I'm weird? What do you mean I'm the wrong color? But the community I grew up in, by the way, I love my community. I'm thankful for the good times, the hard times, the bad times. It shapes us into who we are. But I grew up in the South, in Tennessee in the 80s.
Yep.
And predominantly it still is even now. It's mostly white, Caucasian people. And I say I love white people. My wife is Caucasian, just by the way. But we had one area of town where black people lived, and then there was me. So do I go up the hill? Do I go up the hill or do I stay in the valley? Like dating, Sean, dating was awful. It's like I was good enough to sing in your church, but I wasn't good enough to date your daughter or your granddaughter. Like that was confusing. Like I don't understand just because I look different. I'm one of the good ones. I actually see your daughter as a queen, as a princess, a child. A daughter of the queen, of the king. And I don't know, man. It was tough, but that I think for the 8-year-old me, it was more, wrestling with, man, I am different. I am weird, right? I mean, because that's what they said. Yeah. So just wrestling with trying to find that identity still in Christ, who I've been pointed to my whole life, Yeah. But that is the first time in my life, man, I ever remember asking God why. Yeah. And that was the first time I remember being broken, like truly broken. But if I hadn't been broken, I wouldn't have found myself at that altar, at that revival service, you know what I'm saying, as that broken 8-year little boy in need of a savior.
Right. Right. That's so true, man. And you speak about your experience growing up in the South, like we talked about before. I grew up in the South. I grew up in Mississippi, so I can relate to your story where you have, and some parts is still the same today, where it wasn't as blatant as it was like in the 50s and 60s when it comes to the relations between the different ethnicities. But you had your, black side of town and you had your white side of town. You didn't cross the tracks. You didn't, I was telling my wife, and it's funny, my wife is Pakistani, so we got a multi-ethnic conversation going on right here. So I was telling my wife, like growing up, because right now, my children, they're able to hang out and do different things with different people of different backgrounds, which is great. That's the way the Lord wants it. But growing up, we didn't do that much. We didn't. Now we were friends at school, but it's not like we went over to people's houses after school. We didn't do anything like that. And so I can see how you being special in their eyes, how it's hard for them to relate to that because unfortunately at that time the mentality was still strong to where people wanted to keep folks separate. Let's keep it real. I'll be honest with this on the channel.
And so my mom was the principal of a school, my church going folk. My dad was, he was loved by a lot of the community too. He's a guy that could fix anything. He was an expert in all things, blue collar. And so I was kind of shielded from, I think, a lot of that, but it would show up in times of like, man, well, he's only, I ran faster. I was 100 pounds heavier than all of our offensive linemen, but I ran faster than everybody on the field except for a couple people. Yeah. So their explanation to that would be, well, he's just half black.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
I know. I know what you're saying. I know he got that black in him. That's what it is. That's why he can run so fast. Yeah, I know.
So it would just be more, and it wouldn't even really necessarily be hateful in tone.
Right.
It was just more, I don't know any way to say it, more just ignorance, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Yeah,
it was, and you don't realize it's, I'm proud. It wasn't hurtful. But it was also like, really?
Yeah. I know what you mean, man. And so, wow, that's definitely something you have to overcome.
So we definitely had that dynamic.
Yeah.
That dynamic.
Yeah. You growing up in the 80s and 90s in the South.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something you really had to overcome. And so, tell me about your adoptive parents, man, about the family, because they had to be strong too. Because I'm sure, I know you heard some things, but I'm sure they heard things as well. It's like whispers. You go to a church, what I assume was probably predominantly white church. And so I'm sure they had to be strong. I'm sure they had hear whispers and things like that. Why did you adopt that child and things like that? So how was it growing up in that household?
Man, honestly, it was nothing. I mean, it was nothing but love. That's what was amazing about it. You know, it's. I think they honestly protected me from a lot of that. There were things actually from my when I wrote my book that when we interviewed my mom, there was stuff that was kind of she disclosed a few things where like I said about being an athlete and things like that. Um, I didn't really know much of that until she disclosed some of that. So I think they really protected me because they love me. Um, but it was funny. I've had some people say, "Well, do you feel like you missed out, culturally on the way you were brought up?" And I really don't because it was just love. But there were things like I had a mixed kid fro, but my dad the only haircut he knew how to do was a military cut, like buzz cut.
That's
So you
good.
had like the bald spot, the spiky hair, and I'm like, man, it was like, so they
Yeah.
they didn't know.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do with that. So, I didn't know what lotion was. You know, you know,
Oh, I know.
I had to,
I know.
I had to learn that stuff when I mean, why my elbows so ashy?
Yeah, why you asking? I
So,
know.
so
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Oh,
no, but I mean, my sisters, like Renee and Robin, my Ricky and Rod were older. They were kind of on their way out, into adulthood when I came along. But my sisters, I mean, they're still almost like my mom. They could have been teenage. I could have been their kid.
right.
At 15, 13, and so they took me to practice on their hip. I mean, they helped rip my grandparents. We live right next door, so I used to camp with them. Man, it just we had 70, 80 people at Thanksgiving. It was a beautiful family. I mean, it really was. I'm so thankful for my upbringing. But like you said, I mean, there were still some challenges, but they really did. I mean, I think we won that battle, victory over that, with just showering with love.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so
Yeah,
great
if
to
that
hear.
makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense because I have friends of mine who, they're Caucasian, and they have adopted a young black boy, and
Yeah.
so and we have conversations about that, and so naturally there's going to be some cultural differences. But I always
Mhm.
say on my channel, man, we are one race. God
Absolutely.
has determine our boundaries. We come from one blood,
Mhm.
and so there's not different races. It's one
Right.
race, the human race, with different ethnicities,
Right.
and love covers a multitude of sins. The problem is that they
Yeah,
want
it
to
does.
divide us based upon ethnicity, man, to remain in
Absolutely.
power, to push this agenda, to destroy the family, to destroy America. And so sad that unfortunately racist social construct has been in place for so long that people still
Right.
abide by it and fight for something that is so detrimental to a lot of
Right.
us. And so, with you growing up in that type of environment,
Yeah.
I can only imagine because you got it on both ends. So
Yeah.
you may not have been white enough, but you probably heard you're not black enough either, right?
Oh, I did. I
Yeah,
did.
yeah,
I
yeah.
did. And that's what I meant by, like, do I go up the hill or do I stay in the valley? Right? Where do I go?
Right,
And
right.
there were times where I didn't. I was in the middle. I mean, on certain things, right? The dating thing,
Hmm.
even with dating, like there were some times with that, like, well, he's one of them,
Yeah.
on the other side, like both sides. Um, but just to, it's been really neat. You were talking about, like for example, a white family bringing in a black child or something like that. When I speak at events, I've actually had a lot of people come up and, even in tears, and they're sharing, that part of my story, like asking God why.
Mm.
Their children have kind of had the same, that they're there as well. They're old enough to start asking those questions. And I said, can I just encourage you with something?
Hmm.
You love them unconditionally, and you point them to Jesus.
Yep.
At the end of the day, that's your two jobs. That's what they've been entrusted into your care for that reason. You love
Right.
them and point them to Jesus, and
Right.
he's the only one that you can't fix them. You can't. That's not your job. And not that they need to be fixed. It's just the brokenness, the hurting, all of that. You can't mend that. Only He can.
Hmm.
Right. So if you're pointing them in the right direction, that'll take care of itself. Anyways, that's my advice. for
That's great advice. That's great
most
advice. I
families.
mean, we should always point people to the Lord because He's the only one that can mend those broken hearts, man.
Exactly.
And that's why He says, "Cast our cares upon Him, for He cares for us." Take His yoke
Right.
upon us, and we can learn from Him. So as you progress through high school and you're starting to, do well in football, you're starting to come into your own.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? I know you mentioned that brokenness. What got you to that broken point? I know you talked about being injured as something
Right.
that led you there, but what pushed you to say, I need to turn to the Lord? Because sometimes some people turn to other alternative means, when they hit those low points, that point of brokenness. What was it that caused you to turn to the rock?
Yeah. Well, I know jokingly said it, but that drug problem, man, my family, I mean, my mom's had a gospel quartet. Her family had a gospel quartet. So I traveled with them every time the church doors were open. We were there, serving, not just attending, but serving. And my grandmother was my Sunday school teacher. Thank God for her. I tease because she used to hit me with a Bible, brother, because I was so misbehaved. But she thought if I hit him with the word, at least hopefully something will stick.
Right.
But seriously though, I knew I had a relationship with Jesus, first of all, a personal one, that started as that 8-year-old little boy. And then, but I remember laying in that bed, man, at 17 years old. I had to be on my back for 6 weeks. I had 3 herniated discs and a pinched nerve. I had taken a really gruesome hit, literally like bit me in half backwards. Ooh. And I didn't realize how serious it was. It happened in football season. I didn't have surgery till that summer. And it just kept getting worse, and my mobility and pain. And, having surgery, came out of there, and they told my parents, like, this back injury so bad, he's not going, he can't play football. It's either walk or play football. And I'm 17. I'm saying, look, walking's overrated. You know what I'm saying? I want to play football because I had scholarship offers, and, I thought my Bible said I'm for you, not against you, right? So I was struggling with that. But again, to answer your question, man, like, I remember laying in that bed and feeling sorry for myself, asking God why, and he brought me to Romans 12:1-2. And it says, in view of God's mercy, I offer my body as a living sacrifice. I had to wrestle with that one. Like, hold up. It says offer my body? Like, this man, I'm broken. And he says, it says, this is true worship, to offer that, offer all of yourself, not just a piece of it. And then it says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then and only then will you know his good and pleasing, your perfect will for your life. And it had to be a mind shift, right?
Yeah.
But that had to be that offering too, that Lord, here, I don't understand what you're doing. I don't like it, but you've been faithful for 17 years. So like, I'm going to trust you because I have no reason not to. You've been faithful. So here it is, broken as it is, but he began to do that mind shift that, like, hey, I got you, I know it may seem like things are crazy right now, but I've got you. And I think it's just, I'm thankful for that drug problem. I'm thankful that I was pointed to Jesus. And I think that's that foundation, man.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for it.
If you have over $100,000 in your retirement account and you want to learn about a different way to secure your financial future, text SECURE to 35052 to receive a free 2-minute message from Augusta Precious Metals that will talk you through how to invest in gold, silver, and other precious metals to secure your retirement future. Once again, text SECURE to 35052. Yeah, that foundation is key. I mean, Bible says you train them up in the way they should go. When they get old, they will not depart from it. But you got to train them up in the way they should go. No child, foolishness is bound up in the heart of the child. That's why it talks about the rod of correction. Mm-hmm. So you got you got to drive it out of that child. So that's so true.
You mentioned the rock. That's what you said. That was the word. What drove you to the rock? And I mean, that's that cornerstone, right? That foundation. If we don't have the cornerstone, the house will fall.
Sure will. Sure will. Yeah, too many people have built their house on sand, man. It's crumbled, especially today's time. I mean, everything else is going on right now. If you don't have your house built upon the rock of the Lord and the Word of God, man, you're gonna crumble. You really will. And so that's why your story is so impactful, because there are people that have been in tough situations and have not overcome it. because they turned
Right.
to things instead of turning to the Lord. So when you started to find out about your birth mother and your birth family, what were some of the thoughts that went through your head? Was there any apprehension? I know the Lord spoke to you and said it's time, but was there any apprehension? I mean, what was how did they receive you? How did your uncle receive you
Right.
when you reached out
Right.
to him?
Well, there was definitely. I mean, I had. Sorry, my dog's barking. There's a there was definitely some. How do I say it? There were people in my life that kind of cautioned me. It wasn't even so much a hesitation on my part until I started letting some voices in. Like, well, these things don't always end well. You might search for them and they don't want you and things like that. But here was my thought. I mean, I'm 20. Well, to be honest with you, the reason that I was even looking for my mom was because of the brokenness and the pain that I was experiencing as a father. Like, we've lost these two babies and I don't know my medical history. Like, so really where I was depressed. I was frustrated with God a little bit, not that I didn't believe in him. I'm just struggling because, like, God, these two babies, and I, as a father, I can't protect my babies. So I was honestly, Sean, I was blaming myself. Like, that's just where the enemy had me. And I was like, man, I've got to find my birth mom to get medical history so I can save my kids.
Right.
That's kind of where my headspace was. So what I'm saying, I was so determined. I didn't care, I didn't, because when you become a father, it's about, it's not about me anymore. It's not about us. So again, the initial motivation was that. And so I think I went into it with, God, I'm cool with whatever happens. I don't need a feel good for me to feel good. I just need to find this information out. But then as it progressed, I met my uncle, and then there was excitement. To be honest with you, he didn't tell me that she was alive. My birth mom was alive until after I spent 2 days with him. And, so I had no idea when I went to meet him that she was alive. So the reason he did that is he was protecting her. He wanted to meet me, look me in the eye, man to man, and make sure that I was okay, a safe place for us to be connected. And then after that, man, it was just, I went into it knowing that she's a 46-year-old woman when I met her, but she was still only an 11-year-old child mentally.
Okay.
So she's about to meet her 27-year-old son.
Wow.
So how's that gonna go? How's that gonna go?
Yeah.
And I was prepared for disappointment, to be honest with you. Just on, because there's this relationship that I'm longing, and I knew, like, trying to communicate really how I felt and it be reciprocated, but it's hard to explain, man. The video, I can't explain it. The video is on YouTube, like I said, to watch it. If you do watch it, make sure you have tissues for any listeners or people watching, because it is emotional. And I get to share at a lot of events that I speak at because I get to honor her, but yeah, it wasn't fear, but it was more, I wanted to honor my mom.
Yeah.
I didn't want to cause, trauma, I guess is the best word to use, because that's for an 11-year-old mental capacity woman to meet your son, 27 years old, for the first time it may not go well.
Yeah.
But man, God took over, and all I can say is it was just beautiful, and it was totally unexpected. And what God's done with it has just been a miracle, honestly.
Wow.
And the fact that we had a video camera rolling, it was never meant to be shared with the world. It was just something we wanted to capture. But then as I started sharing my story more nationally, people wanted to see it. And I was like, you know what? We just need to make it available. I think God's going to use it, and he has.
So that's a good point. Kind of dovetails to where I want to take the conversation now. So
Okay.
What prompted you to have the recording? Was it just for your to have for your family to show, or what? Because I'm sure you want to document this experience, for yourself,
right,
for your family. And so how did it become such a touchstone for a lot of people to where now you are going and talking about the importance of life and how to fight for life and not to choose to unalive your children?
Yeah. I'm laughing, man, because we don't have enough time on this podcast
Yes,
to
we
get
do.
there.
Hey,
Yeah.
as much as you need to, brother.
Yeah, no, it was never anything I was pursuing at all. I was comfortable being on staff at a church. You know, leading. I was at the time I was a youth pastor, but I transitioned into leading worship. So I met my mom in 2019, and again, the video, to answer that first part of the question, it was never meant to share with anybody outside of just family. Like you said, the real purpose was to document it. Just to have a record for us. And my uncle actually did a magic show for these residents, and I laugh because they're schizophrenics, bipolar. I mean, he's pulling like coins out of people's ears, and they're freaking out, and so it was really comical. Actually, that part got cut out for the for the purpose of what I share. But there was a lot that happened but then this moment happened because what we were planning on doing was going back to her room and having an intimate, conversation with just her away from everybody, even at the facility. But God I felt led to sing Amazing Grace, man, and over her, and it was on camera. I came out from behind the camera to sing it to her. And when I hit Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound that saved, I lost it. Like, I just started, crying because I'm looking at this woman that saved my life. It wasn't just, spiritual salvation. It was this woman physically fought for me and saved my life. And I'm looking at her. I can touch her and see her and smell her. And you know what I'm saying? Like, that's my mom.
Yeah.
And then she just looks at me kind of like, why'd you stop singing? And she just finishes the whole verse.
Really?
It's just beautiful. And,
Wow.
and she hadn't been singing she hadn't sing on key all day long. Like she likes to sing songs and they were flat all day, but not that verse. So it just, and there's so much more on there, but then it was probably 6 years before. So I'm doing the math here. Yeah, it was no, it was 3 years later. I had the opportunity to share at actually a Celebrate Recovery. I don't know if you're familiar with those organization, but like a recovery, addiction recovery, and other things that a church program, and they had me share my testimony, and I shared, and in the room. There was a young black woman. She's 26 years old, sitting in the back of the room. She waited for everybody to leave. She came up and just started sobbing uncontrollably. And she just embraced me. And, normally us ministry guys, right, we're not going in for the bear hugs to be respectful. But she cried. There was tears. There was snot. I'm just going to be real. It was, she let it, like, it was this year. I could feel the pain. I could feel the years of, just bent up whatever it was she was releasing. And she finally, after about 5 minutes, she opened up and shared with me. She said, my mom forced me to have an abortion when I was 15 years old, and I've been wrapped in chains because of that, the shame and guilt of that decision for 11 years. And after hearing your story tonight, those chains are no longer hold me bound. She's like, they're broken.
Wow.
And that's amazing. But I'm also sitting there thinking, like, I just shared a story of my mom choosing life for me, and you aborted a child. How are you finding freedom from, if it would actually make you, I thought, humanly, in my human, I'm not articulating this well, but you know what I mean? Like, just in our own capacity, like, you would think it would cause her to have more hurt. Right. But God used it to break her chains. So I made a commitment that day, man. God, if you give me a platform, I don't care how big or small, what the money is or not, I'm gonna go. Now that was in 2012, and I didn't start speaking nationally until 2018.
Wow.
But I wrote a book in 2015 sharing my story. Just a lot of people just kept, man, you got to put this in a book. You got to put this in. I don't want to write a book. And it finally poured out of me. And I actually stepped away from the church in 2013, not because I love the church, but my dad was battling Alzheimer's. That guy I was telling you about that, brought me in and loved me despite my color and DNA and blood. And he passed away in 2014. I spent a year and 14 days loving on him. Actually, no, it was August 19th of 2014. He died, and that season, man, loving on my dad, it really just kind of, I've got to share our story. So the book not just tells my mom and my story, but it also tells the story of my family, and get to honor my dad on that page 36. I honor him every time I speak, just to say, hey, let me tell you what love looks like. And so I tell people he held me on my way in, and I had the honor of holding him on his way out.
Wow.
And but yeah, so so then after the book came out in 2015, people wanted me to start speaking, sharing. So I did 35 events one year, 54 the next year, 75 the next year. Just a lot of churches, a lot of places I was going for free, love offerings. Lord, like I said, I'm honoring the call you put on my life to not be silent and share my story. But during that season, though, I was actually working for a local pregnancy center too, doing abstinence education. I was going into schools and speaking to kids, 7th grade through seniors, and that's when I was able to start working my story. I was seeing the power of, working my testimony into these presentations, and I submitted. Then I realized, like, working for that pregnancy center in the pro-life space, not only do I have a testimony for the church, I have a testimony for this movement. Right. As a matter of fact, I'm like the poster child, for all things, and I didn't even realize it because I was so, which is not a bad thing, but I was so church, right? I mean, I was a minister, I was on staff. That's where my, career was. That's where my focus was. But being outside of that space, that's where I was like, okay, God. So then I was like, how do I do this? And I had a speaking agency, long story short, pick me up in 2018. I had 4 events nationally that year, and this year, brother, I will end the year with 60.
Man, praise the Lord. Wow, man, look at that. Look at God, man. That is awesome, brother. It really is.
Yeah, and that's speaking or leading worship. I still get to do what I've always done. It's just in a different context, and I still do a little bit of church ministry, but mostly a lot of those probably 50 of them are in the pro-life space, raising money for pregnancy centers locally or even right to life events. I'm also foster care and adoption. Obviously, I have a huge heart for, so I do a lot of that as well, raising money for them and awareness, advocating.
That's awesome. Let me ask you this. So I know you do a lot of things with pro-life organizations. Do you also have the opportunity to work with pro-life legislatures to try to get some things passed? I mean, what has the response been from some of the lawmakers? Because some of the time they may say they want to stand up for life, but when the rubber meets the road, they don't. So what has been some of the responses? Any type of assistance or any type of cooperation, any type of working with them? How has that been?
Yeah, I haven't directly worked with any lawmakers at this point. I've had, we usually always have at least a local, if not, state and sometimes even national, lawmakers that'll be at a fundraising event, a gala or a banquet, and I've connected with many of them, but I've had a couple that have invited me to come and share my testimony if I had an opportunity to, like. I know the latest one I had was, I think it was the State of the Union address, Biden's last one, the last one he did. They asked me to come and be in the room, but I had a speaking engagement, a fundraising event, and I wasn't going to, I'm not going to bail on them to be there in the room. So, but that was an honor. I think it was the state of Ohio, maybe Congressman or his team had given me an invite to come. So, I'm definitely open to it if God, says do it. I'm not afraid to be a voice, but I also don't. I think, when I say this, I'm going to try to be. I don't want to be used as a pawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I really am very intentional about praying, about those things and just making sure, asking all the right questions and making sure that we're in alignment.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. You're so true. That's so true. Yeah, you don't want to be used as a political prop.
Right.
That people just use you just for their own benefit and not really looking to advance the cause of life. And so many. Yeah.
So that's what, like when you said, when you have, there's some people that are genuine and they're doing it because they want to see change, and there's some that's looking just for votes.
Right.
And I want to use discernment in that.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. So I know, and
Sorry.
no, I'm just because this question, and feel free to answer how you want to answer it.
Yeah.
The churches that you've spoken at, have they been predominantly one type of ethnicity, or have you had the opportunity to speak at churches where the pastor is not Caucasian?
Primarily, most of the churches are Caucasian.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've had I have had an opportunity to speak in when we, man, that's the biggest segregation on Sunday mornings, right? I've spoken in about 5 predominantly black churches,
Okay.
but most of my churches that I speak in are predominantly white. Now there occasionally will be some different ethnicities and races there, but predominantly white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I asked that question because I'm sure you know this, being in the battle, is that while abortion is horrible and it affects everybody, it affects, the black community more than anybody else, with 20 million babies that have been
Targeted.
aborted. Yeah, targeted. I mean, Margaret Sanger started with birth control, and with Planned Parenthood and the abortion, and using pastors to help push this into the community. And yet they wouldn't have someone like yourself come and speak about the sanctity of life. I mean, as Christians, that should be important to us. Life should be one of those things that shouldn't be a debate on. And that's why I asked that question, because unfortunately, and you've seen it, it seems as if yeah, go ahead.
And I even try, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, more on, like, I just want to come in and share my testimony.
Right.
I mean, now it's going to be pro-life leaning because that's my story. But like I can come in and be respectful of, because this is what I tell people. I mean, we all fight in different ways. We all carry different, different swords, different weapons. My story is the weapon, right? I mean, that's my, when I go to battle, like, that's my place to share my story. And a lot of times I drop mic and walk away. No, I'm not. That doesn't mean I'm afraid. I'm not afraid to debate. I'm not afraid to stand for myself and to fight. But I think my voice just, and I say that because I just did an event, and just to respect those that I did an event in Alabama, where I live. I live here in Alabama, but I did a couple hours away from here on just a few days ago. And I had a lady come to my book table, and she's weeping, and she was with her mother. Her mother serves at the pregnancy center locally where I was at, and she just wanted to apologize to me because she said, I've gone all these years watching my mom serve, and yeah, I'm pro-life, but I've always been, except for rape and incest. And after hearing your story, she broke down, and she said, I'm sorry. Like, I devalued your life. And I had that in Louisiana. I had a group of 10 ladies from a small group from a church basically have that same. They waited for the room to clear out. I thought I was going to get beat up. Like that. I said something wrong. They're going to pounce on me. But no, they looked at me and just started crying. And they said the same thing. Like, we all came here. We were just talking at our small group how, we just can't, in rape and incest, though, I think we would, be okay with that. And then after hearing your story, it's like, we can't. And they apologized. And so it's like, man, when you have moments like, I mean, that's just 2 of many, many. But when you have those moments like that, it's like, I have to share. Like, I have to keep telling my story. It's, but again, those conversations with the parents that come up with their adopted child that they're struggling with, and they're asking those why questions, or, it's just amazing, man, what God can do. I'm there to raise money for organizations to do my job, but there's so much ministry that happens. I'm there to minister, brother. I mean, that's really what I'm created to do. Right. And I think I love Revelations 12:11. It's one of my verses. That we overcome by the blood of the Lamb. That's Jesus. And the power or word of our testimony. Yeah. So I think we, sometimes we forget that. I mean, it's in the right order. Jesus first, the blood of the Lamb, but we also need to share our testimonies, right? Like how good, how faithful and amazing God is, and everything that comes with that. So,
Right.
yeah, it's
Right.
just, yeah, blessed, man.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Why is it that people can so easily say, except for rape and incest, when it comes to abortion? That seems to be the thing that people just dismissively say, "Oh, rape and abortion, we can terminate those children." Like,
Right.
for example, you hear the liberal side of the aisle talk about, "Oh, this is what you're gonna do when this 12-year-old girl is raped. You want her to
Right.
carry that baby full term." It's like the life of that baby does not matter. So, since you were a product of rape, how does that impact you and motivate you to really share your story like you've been doing? Because
Right.
it seems like rape and incest is just dismissed, you know?
Right. I still have value. I still have worth. I still have 3 beautiful daughters that wouldn't be here if somebody didn't say I was worth it. I take it personal, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because I've had conversations with people. They look me right in the eyes, and they may even mean well, right? I mean, I don't hate anybody. Like I mean, my God calls me to love, right? Now I don't have to like everything, or you at times, but
Right.
but I've had a conversation where, well, I'm thankful you're here, but your mom still should have been able to terminate you.
Wow.
Really?
Really? Really?
Yeah.
They've said that to
I
you?
mean, oh yeah. Yeah, and so where's it? But their premise is most of the time, your mom still should have had rights. Women's rights basically is where it lands on. Like your mom still should have had a right to decide whether you live or die. And for me, I tell them like, look, you and I are not going to get any further in this conversation until
Yeah.
either I change my position or you change yours. So here's my thought for you. You've met somebody, flesh and bone, right here standing in front of you, that my worth and my value wasn't determined, or the factor of how I was conceived. Like God still had a plan and purpose for my life, man. And I'm literally, whether you believe in God or not, I'm standing here.
Right.
So just if anything else, if you don't change your mind, at least think about me.
Yeah.
Right, when you're sitting there with that decision. And I've heard people, I've been on some podcasts and they're like, man, these bigots and all that kind of stuff. Well, I don't think that gets us any further in the conversation, because now they hate you because you're calling them names. And like, look, man, this is my story, and I've lived it. And if nothing else, at least hopefully it can challenge your position to see my face, whenever the next time you say that baby doesn't have any worth or value and a mother should be able to terminate it. If that would have happened, I wouldn't have been here having this conversation with you.
I know.
And hopefully you can walk away from this conversation uplifted, because that's my goal.
Yeah.
And then I tell them I love you and I'm thankful for you, and I hope you change your mind.
That's great. That's great, man. That's great. And I know that has to be the Spirit of God within you, because for someone just to tell you to your face, your mother should have still had the right to terminate you.
Oh, I want to throat punch him. But nope. I'm just gonna be real with you on the podcast.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, like, really, you're gonna tell
to your
right
face.
to my face?
To your face.
But I'm like, a lot of times I think, there's a difference between stupidity and ignorance, right? I think it's ignorance. Because a lot of times, those people will come up. I've never really thought about it like that. I've never met a person that's been conceived in rape. And I'm like, yeah, I don't look any different than anybody else, right? I mean, like, you can't even tell. Like, if you look at an ultrasound, can you tell me if that baby's been raped or not?
Nope. You can't.
You don't know our stories.
Right.
And the other side too, Sean, is I'll hear people, well, what about the foster care system? Like, what about these kids that have been chained up in a basement and fed dog food, or like the most horrific, that's been abused in every single way possible. I can't guarantee you that that's not going to happen to a child, and it's horrible that it happens. But some of the most amazing people, the most beautiful people on the planet that I've ever met, have been through the worst of hell.
Yeah.
And have come out on the other side, and God's using them in powerful and amazing ways.
Yeah.
I personally, my belief, I don't think God causes any of that. but my God's big enough to step into it. I mean, we have sin in the world. It's been there since the fall.
Right.
But God has the power to step into any brokenness, no matter how bad,
Yeah.
and use it for his good. So who am I to say, well, just because somebody's life could be terrible, let's go ahead and just take them out so they don't have to experience it.
Right.
I don't understand how that makes sense to people.
It doesn't. It doesn't register, and that's that secular worldview, though, man. That's that secular worldview, and see, we have a biblical worldview to where we understand God didn't cause it. You think God wants that to happen? God wants His perfect will to happen in our lives. But if it does happen, that life is just as precious as everyone else's life, and He can use that life to bless so many people. I mean, it's crazy how people can dismiss things that they're not used to or unfamiliar with because they had not met anyone like you that came from your situation, from a product of a rape. They can automatically in their minds dismiss it and say, okay, well, in those instances we can terminate a life, and that's part of the I don't want to say issue, but part of the challenge I see in the quote unquote pro-life movement, where some people really are about life, no exceptions. And then you got some people, like here in North Carolina, you got some people that, well, we can go up to the heartbeat, in the event of rape and incest and things like that. As for me, a believer, we should go all the way. Either it's life or it's not. For me, I believe that life begins at conception. I'm not waiting around for a heartbeat. I mean, I'm not waiting around for that. To me, that's when life begins. And so I think a lot of people try to straddle that fence because, like you said, they're doing it for political purposes and not truly a heart change or want to see a change in the culture.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that's, so I think that's why it's so important for me to keep speaking, man, to keep sharing my story. If I can challenge people, I mean, there are some people that are going to change their mind, their stance just because I've seen it. But I also know just as powerful is there's seeds being planted, because I've never thought about it like that before. I've never heard a story like his before. I've never met anybody that's been through that particular experience, and when you can, I truly believe that's why I love Revelations 12:11, man. Not only do we personally overcome, but we allow other people to overcome, not just from their circumstances, but even their mind, like shifting the mind.
Right.
Like, man, if they can do it, I mean, like, think about an addict. Like, man, how many, like, if you've been an addict, you can reach an addict. Broken people reach broken people, right? Or can speak to broken people sometimes. And I know we can do that. It can be bad too, like hurt people. Yeah. But sometimes it takes somebody that's been there and that can relate to help pull people out.
Yeah.
And so
that's so true. That's so true. So when you're doing these speaking engagements, I know we touched on it briefly. What is it that you want the audience, if you have one or two things that you want the audience to receive or walk away with after hearing you talk, what are those things that you're looking to deposit into the hearts and minds of the people that are listening to you when you speak at these events?
Well, I think, obviously if it's a life event, all life has purpose. Every single life has purpose, no matter how they came into the world. Like, God has a plan. I love Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, not to harm you, right? But to prosper you, to give you hope in the future. So all life has purpose, I think, would be a major battle cry for me. But also, even outside of the pro-life or just life, but personally, that you're broken, not dead. I have a nonprofit ministry called that, but it's really not just a ministry name, man. It's a battle cry. Like it's how I operate. Like, I'm broken, but I'm not dead yet. And I think I kind of alluded to it. That's just, you've heard me say it all night or in this podcast. Brokenness is my thing, man. I just feel like, especially for the church, but just for people in general, like we treat brokenness like a death sentence. And because of that biblical worldview, because we know what God can do, man, it's not over yet. Like,
Right.
I don't care how much brokenness it is. Some may take longer to heal than others,
Right.
but brokenness can always be restored if you give it to the master potter,
Amen.
right?
Amen.
So that, hey, it's okay. I mean, I know it hurts. I know that, but it's okay to give it to him. Like, surrender that mess and
Yeah.
let him start doing the work. And then,
Yeah.
like, because what I've just done to, like, me sharing my story, I at some point in my life, I gave, and actually it's every day, I've given my brokenness to the master potter, and I don't hide my scars and my cracks. You know, like, some of them are still being healed, some of them are completely healed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so man, you're gonna have me preaching on here, but
Hey, go ahead. That's what it's about, man. That's what we're here for.
but all life has purpose,
Yeah.
right? Every life matters, but also too, you're broken, not dead. You're not done yet.
Yeah.
Until your heart stops beating and breath is out of your lungs, there's still purpose for your life.
Yeah.
And you know that brokenness, whatever that pain you're carrying, he can take it.
Yeah.
You know,
Amen.
it's not too big for him.
Right. Right. That's so true. That's so true. So, my last question for you is:
Okay.
Is your birth mother, is she still alive?
No, man. So I met her. I connected with her in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
I was 27. She passed away on Thanksgiving night of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So sadly, she was in a mental institution and she choked on a sandwich, and she was in a wheelchair. They didn't get to her in time. They got vitals back actually in the ambulance on the way to the hospital,
Yeah.
but she was pretty much on life support, you know, on a machine at that point. So my uncle that I talked about, you know, connecting with, he was kind of she was a ward of the state, but he's the family like liaison. Like they would call him when things happen, and he calls me on Thanksgiving. We had just spent like Thanksgiving with my adopted family, like 70, 80 people.
Yeah.
And I get that call about almost midnight, and he asked me, he said, what do you want to do, man? And when I met her, Sean, like in that video, man, I'm gonna get me right here. I usually can watch that video and not shed a tear until she says, "I love Jesus." And as an 11-year-old mental capacity woman, that was enough. I didn't need to hear any more than that. She had a relationship with Jesus.
But now you have real baby pictures of him, and you have pictures of the Holland family, Mr. and Miss Holland, that raised him. He has a lot of family, and they love you. They've always loved you.
Son, I love you from the bottom of my heart, and I love you deeply in my heart. And I want to say I'm glad that you're here today. And Mama loves you, and I have from this first time that you was in my belly. I sang to you, I read nursery rhymes to you, I remember all that. And this is your mama right here, and I love you, my son. And I want to show you something that I've learned. I love Jesus, and I want you to know that I love my family. And I know now I have a real big family that I can look forward to seeing.
So I said, you know what? Like, let her go home, man. Let her be completely healed and restored and find peace. And I mean, that's the honor that I can give her. Like, you know. And I said, if she survives, if you pull the machine, then great. I mean, that's God's will. But I know where she's going, and the hope that we have in heaven. So we let her go home, man. And so, to be honest, you know, I struggle. There we go again, asking God, really, Lord, you're going to take her out with a PB and J? You know, like out of all the things that you could do, like choke on a sandwich, like really? I mean, that's where I was, man. Like, really, God?
Yeah.
And but then I finally, after grieving a little bit, you know, for maybe a week and a half or two, I just said, you know what? I've been sharing my story. There's been so many people, like 100,000 people have met Mama Glenda, my hero, because I show that video every time I speak, if at all possible. So there's been so many people that met her. So I shared that she had passed, and man, I just got flooded with social media posts, with text messages, emails, and I needed to hear this, but they're like, hey, she's not just your hero, she's mine too.
Wow.
So this 11-year-old mental capacity woman, you know, 46-year-old, 57 when she died, probably spent most of her life thinking nobody cared or loved her or saw her, and now what her son gets to do.
Mm-hmm. See, yeah. See,
I get to carry on her legacy, man. Like
wow.
that when I share at those pregnancy center fundraisers, it's not my story. It's
Yeah.
it's a birth mom that chose to fight for me, that chose
Right.
life, and I get to honor her.
Right.
And then once they see that video, everybody's crying, man. I'm chopped liver, like nobody cares about me. Like it's all about Mama Glenda, and that's what I want
Right.
it to be. I
Right.
get to, if it wasn't for her courage, and I mean, she carried me homeless, not one day
I
of
know.
prenatal care, living in
I
a
know.
cardboard box to save her little boy.
Wow.
You know, and so yeah, man, it's an honor. It's an honor to share our story, and I'm thankful to have life and have a story to share.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
not. I refuse to be silent, man. Sir Edmund Burke says the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I refuse to do nothing. I can't.
Mm-hmm.
God's been too good and too faithful.
Man.
Yep.
Man. See, look at God, man. God knew what He
Yeah.
had called you to do and had His hand on you, man. And because that's all God. When you think about that, I know you probably have.
Yeah.
That's a God thing, man. That
Yeah.
nothing happened to her while she
Mm-hmm.
was carrying you. That
Yep.
nothing happened to you after you were born. How God just
Mm-hmm.
has angels protecting you and camped around you, man. That's brother. That's. I am so thankful that God is using you to tell this story to so many people,
Yeah.
because not
Thank you.
only from the standpoint of life, yes, we are all about the preservation of life, and we want every young lady and the men involved too to choose
Yep.
life. That's important. But just to see the handiwork of God and the hand of God on your life demonstrates how real He is. And
Yep.
my prayer is that people come to a saving knowledge of Christ by hearing your story,
Absolutely.
man. I
Absolutely.
really do. I really pray for that, because I think in this day and time that we live in, people need to see that genuine realness,
Yeah.
that transparency, that authenticity of who God is, man. And they see it in your life, for sure. For
Well, and
sure.
I definitely should add that to my answer on when
Yeah.
you asked me what,
Yeah.
what, because it's true. I
Yeah.
didn't say it out loud, but it's definitely. I mean, it's the gospel, man. I mean, like
Mhm.
every time, even though I'm there at a fundraising event, which is what I do a lot of,
Yeah.
um, throughout the year, is I'm there to minister, man. I'm there to share the love of Christ and share the gospel at the end of the day.
Right.
I'm being brought in to raise money, yes,
Hmm.
but it's just as important or more important is to share the gospel,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I do that through my testimony,
Yeah.
and I sing a little bit too whenever I take
Oh
him to
yeah.
church a little bit, a little
Oh man.
because he lives, and a little bit of Amazing Grace, and
Oh
so
man, well, I gotta hear that. I gotta
yeah.
hear that, man. I'm sure you got a nice. I heard you sing a little bit. Yeah, you got a voice on you. God's
Well,
blessed you in that
I've
area
been
too a little bit.
I've been blessed to record 25 songs now, and I never, for probably 37 years of my life, I just thought
Hmm.
that I wasn't good enough, and nobody wants to hear these songs. But what God kind of put on my heart is, man, music has power to touch people
Yeah,
in
it
ways
does.
that our spoken words can't, and I've
Right.
definitely seen that. I've just anyways, we don't have to go there, but I've seen people literally, man, just say like your song saved me. I
Wow.
mean, like when you hear something like that, like
Yeah.
literally, I'm going to take my life, and I heard your song. It's like, okay, Lord, thank you for allowing me to be brave enough to put my heart out there, in the form of a song, and how you can use it to literally save somebody.
Hmm.
It's just
Yeah.
it's powerful. So
That's powerful, man. I mean, God is so
mm,
good. He'll use whatever avenue is available to Him, and He uses
right,
people who are available, and you've made yourself
yeah,
available, man. So that's why He's just blessing you and honoring your faithfulness to Him. So
right.
that's great.
Well,
That's
that's
great to hear,
something.
man.
I'm a humble guy. I mean, I know we say that, but we do have pride. I mean, it's, but I am proud of myself. Like
Yeah,
that pride that I didn't quit.
yeah,
I mean, somebody might need to hear this, but that when I said yes to the Lord in 2018, I mean, my family and I, lived off crumbs,
mm,
and people in my life looking at like, what are you doing? like get a real job, like what,
Yeah. Yeah.
all that, even trusted, like pastor friends of mine
I
and
know.
people in the church, but they just couldn't see what I saw, and they couldn't see what God had called me to, and I had to be faithful. I had to be faithful in what God called me to, and
Yeah.
my family to, and just to look. And it's not prosperity, any of that. It's just that God is a God of provision,
Right. Yes,
and
he
like
is.
where we are now compared to where we started, like it's just, man, just thank you, God, for your provision. Thank you for being a God that provides.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's been
I don't,
faithful.
and I don't know. I understand why that has gotten a dirty reputation. It's been sullied. But God is a God of provision. He provides
Yeah.
for you wherever the vision is. He gave you the
Right.
vision. He'll provide you
Right.
the means and the resources to accomplish
Right.
that. And there's nothing
Right.
wrong with that. I mean, you're not using to
Right.
go buy a brand new Lamborghini or fly around the
Nope.
world in your private
Nope.
jet. I mean, you're not doing
Nope.
anything like that. So yeah.
Nope.
So, and God provides that provision for the vision, man. He really does.
Mhm.
I mean, I've
Yep.
seen it. I've seen it over and over. As long as you're faithful to it, He'll be faithful to His word. He can't deny Himself.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
man, this is, man. We could talk all night. I don't want to
Yeah.
hold you up any
No,
longer,
you're
man.
good.
This has
You're
been
good.
great. So, how can people get in touch with you? How can people connect with you? How can people come out to any event that you may be speaking at?
Yeah. Well, I'm the only Stevenson in the world.
Really?
So I am. I'm the
Wow.
only Stevenson in the world. So I own .com, .org, and .net. But seriously, Stevenson.com is the easiest way, like with the website. But I'm on, if you look on any social platform, especially like Instagram, Facebook, it's going to be, I'm the only Stevenson, so I don't have to worry too much about SEO, Sean, or marketing, branding
Yeah.
stuff. But just real quick, a lot of people want to know where I got my name from, so I might as well go ahead and
Yeah.
let you know.
Yeah.
My birth mom obviously gave me that, or she gave me that name. I guess it wouldn't be obvious, but she, in the hospital, I want to name him Stephen, then William. So my middle name is William. Whoever heard her say the way she spoke, an 11-year-old child, was Stevenson William, and they put Stephen and then
Ah.
together. So
Yeah.
she wanted my first name to be Stephen and my middle name to be
Be
William.
William.
But in her mind, it's all one word.
Yeah.
So whoever put it on the paper or on my birth certificate that day put Stevenson, and my adopted family kept the name legally. So
Yeah.
when I found out what my mom did for me, I didn't go by that growing up. It was Steven or Steve
Okay.
later. But now that I know my story and what she did, man, it's part of carrying on that legacy. She gave me that name, so I'm going to wear it proudly. So, anyways, sorry to drop that in there, but
No.
Stevenson,
Yeah.
yeah, Stevenson.com. And like I said, that's all. I've got 25 songs out there too. I'd love for anybody to be blessed by those on all the digital music platforms. You just got to search my name, yeah.
Man,
But-
even with that little nugget right there, that God just used that to even further distinguish you. Stephen.
Yeah, to be honest, I get a lot of people. It's funny. The name is what is the marketing piece. It's
Yeah.
like, what? How did you get that name? Oh, well, let
Yeah.
me tell you.
Yeah.
I'll give you you want the 30-second version or the but no, but it's been amazing, man. But like I said, I'm easy to find if you know how to spell my name. But .com it and it'll give you what you need. So
Wow.
I think I've got I don't know when you'll be airing this, but I've got, this fall, I've got 29 total this fall, but I think I've got about 20 left to do. So I'm all over the country. So hopefully I put a lot of stuff on social as I travel and things. I'd love to, anybody that can come out, I'd love to see you. Make sure to say hi if you're able to make an event.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll definitely spread the word, and I'm just encouraged by having this conversation with you, because it's always good to connect with brothers in the Lord who are doing it the Lord's way, who are being used by the Lord mightily, and God really has His hands on you, man. And I'm just excited to see how this message continues to touch lives, impacts lives for the glory of God. So Thank you, brother. I really enjoyed this conversation. We probably have to do this again, man, because
Yeah,
it was so rich that I think I want to delve like a part
unpack
two.
it.
Yeah, unpack it even more,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
So we
yeah, yeah.
definitely got to do this again, brother. And
I'd
I
be honored.
appreciate
I'd be
you.
honored to.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate you hopping on, man. And I'm
Yeah, you're welcome.
excited. I'm excited. I'm so excited about what God's doing in your life. So you heard him. Check him out. Links to his website, links to his social will all be in the description of this video. But the most important thing that we talked about is that you may be broken, but you're not dead. And all lives
Yep.
matter. And it's so important that you understand that
Yep.
God loves you, that God wants the best for you, that
Mm.
God sent his son to die for you, and that all lives are important, all lives matter.